Hello, everyone, and welcome to my world. This is Gary Gomes. Hopefully, you got that first message. I was holding the microphone way over there as if I was holding it in front of my mouth. And so, this is not really the most auspicious way to start a presentation, but here I am anyway. All right, so uh, I'm going to talk with you about Vedic astrology, what it means to the world, what the astrological conditions in the sky means to the world, how it affects you personally, and also how it affects the world map as we look at at places around the world. So I am going to make this a shorter presentation than normal, mainly because I am sick this week. Uh, this is a different problem. These are the problems we encounter as we age. Without getting into too much detail, I think I hurt myself a little bit when I was shoveling, and so I need to actually do a shorter presentation than I normally do. So it's mainly leg pains and things like that. So I have to. Hopefully, they'll be gone by next week. And let's, without further ado, if you would like a reading or if you would like astrology lessons, I offer both at very reasonable prices for a 35-year experienced Vedic astrologer. And also, you can contact me about our store, Crystal Expectations, at 854 Brock Avenue in New Bedford. That's 854 Brock Avenue in New Bedford, Massachusetts, 02744. It's a new age store. We've been there since around 1987, 1988. And I've been an astrologer for less time than the store has been in existence. So we do have a lot of knowledge about various spiritual traditions. And I'm a trained Kriya Yoga priest. And we can help you out with a lot of different things. But to contact me, the best way to contact me is to go through 508 525 0001. You can text me at that number or you can email me at garygomesg@gmail.com. So that's Gary Gomes G, my name, the letter G, at gmail.com. Okay, so either 508 525 0001 or my email address, which I just gave you. If you would like to contact me, I can also refer you to other astrologers if you don't like my particular teaching style or my particular approach. It's a free country, it's a free world so far. And I believe in giving you the greatest uh, option of choice. Obviously, if I didn't think I was any good, I wouldn't be offering astrology classes or astrology readings. I feel like I'm a really good astrologer, as a matter of fact, excellent astrologer. But again, my blend may not be exactly what you're looking for, and we can discuss that. That's no problem. I will not get offended. Also, I would like to encourage you to subscribe, like, share, and comment on this particular broadcast. And without further ado, let's get into it. So we have, so we'll look at a couple of countries, maybe a few countries, and we'll also look at what's going on right now. We'll start with the now chart. So it's February 15th, 2026. It's around 2:02 p.m. in New Bedford, Massachusetts, in Bristol County. And right now you can see the, whoops, you can't see the chart just yet. Let me share it. So share. I need to get this in the right sequence. My apologies, folks. Okay, you should be able to see it just about now. Okay, so the big news coming up over the following week is we have an eclipse. We're not going to have a Mercury retrograde until closer to the end of the month, although you've probably been feeling some of the effects of that as we lead up to it. But also, one of the things I would like to share with you is that eclipse will happen on the 17th. As you can see right now, we're kind of building up to it. So you can see, so when the sun and the moon come together, we have an eclipse. And when the sun and the moon are full, we also have an eclipse. So, um, but again, these don't automatically happen like that. Just to be clear, the sun and the moon have to be at a certain longitude and latitude in the sky. Uh, but this is a very slight eclipse, and it's largely centered around the base of the world, around Antarctica, parts of South America, and down in Chile, Argentina. And up until recently, I hadn't thought that was going to have very much of an effect um, on that part of the world. But apparently, there is some effect being realized in South America. So let's go to the eclipse chart just for a second. In South America, from this eclipse, or from what's happening in in Palestine. So let me just see if I can get this February 17, 2026. And so this is the eclipse chart. We'll go back to the main chart in a second. So, and I want to look at this time and space chart just for a second before I get into the. Okay, so as you can see, there are all kinds of eclipse lines running through Brazil, uh, Guyana, Ch Bolivia, Peru, Argentina, all the way down towards Uruguay. And so what's happening in um, South America is kind of interesting. Let me see if I can look it up for you in just a second. So essentially, Latin America's new left has been really incredibly involved with protests against uh, the killings that are taking place in Palestine. Um, and I think I think one of the things is causing a lot of civil unrest down there, and a lot of there's been a shift um, in policy. A lot of countries that had been silent about the Israeli conflict are talking out about it. So this so so actually the eclipse is in fact affecting South America rather dramatically. And I think that this, and interestingly enough, you can see the same lines running over the over the Middle East, and this is where um, these locality maps come in handy because you can see links, and you can also see how this may be affecting the Philippines, Australia, and also uh, Japan and China. So it isn't localized just to this region. It's spreading out to other parts of the world and affecting local politics there. Now, whether or not this will develop into anything significant, I don't know. But I just want to bring that to your attention. The other thing is we have last week, this past week, and I thought it was actually a bit unusual. The Democrats went over to Europe to meet with the European countries to reassure them that Trump is a temporary phenomenon. You know, so that essentially that the position that Trump has taken criticizing our European allies is not permanent, and and I guess one of the things they're trying to reassure them of is that when the Democrats resume power, or when a Republican other than Trump resumes power, that this shift will shift back to a more uh, um, civilized or more diplomatic approach to Europe. Now, this is, I think, partially true, but if we look at the United States chart, we're just going to go to the United States chart just for a second. And one of the parts of being an astrologer is reporting on things you like or you don't like, um, as fairly and as um, evenly as possible. So that was essentially uh, a reassurance to um, Europe is that essentially this particular pattern won't last. But if we go to the U.S.'s chart, we have this Rahu Mercury combination right now. Mercury's with Rahu, so it's a highly critical combination in the U.S. chart right now. And after after March 27th, there'll be a Rahu Ketu conjunctions or opposition. So a lot of this, I think, was actually intended to calm down Europeans and especially people in Europe um, who are afraid that a lot of the existing political parties will fall out of power, and there'll be some kind of a rebellion against the existing Euro order in Europe, essentially encouraged by Trump. And that's actually something that's been manifesting over the past year, especially in countries like Italy, over the past few years in Italy, Romania, Poland. So the Eastern European countries, the old Eastern European bloc, as it were, except for um, certain other countries, are by and large turning very nationalistic, mainly because they're seeing their traditional cultures being hurt or damaged. They're seeing their economies being damaged, and they're also seeing uh, what I would call a retreat from European ascendancy. Now, there are some who would say that retreat from European ascendancy is long overdue. But there is also the idea that this Rahu Ketu combination can actually encourage rebellion more so than discourage it. And that will be in place up until April 14th of 2027 in the United States. If we go over to, so let's go over to Europe again, and let's see what the United States' impact on Europe is. There's a huge impact on Europe from the United States chart. Okay, so you can see all these patterns moving here. Sun, Mars, and a Saturn line running through running through the east coast of the United States, and the moon line running close to the west coast. And you can see all these same lines, all this Rahu lines, and all these all running through Eastern Europe all the way through pretty much through England. So the United States and the European map are strongly linked. The United States is linked very strongly with the rest of the world. That's not true for every country. This map is kind of interesting in that the United States has a lot of influence on the rest of the world. And let's go to the eclipse chart again. So this may all seem a little bit esoteric or a little bit um, far-fetched, but there has been there have been major events happening all through Europe, which you don't necessarily see in the American press. And there are a variety of reasons the American press doesn't cover it. But this eclipse does indicate changes emanating through South America, a little bit through Europe, a lot through the Middle East and Africa, especially Egyptian and southerly Africa and Iran and all the way into Pakistan and Afghanistan, and also affecting China, Philippines, uh, Borneo, and down all the way through Australia. So, and also as far away as New Zealand and Japan. So this eclipse will be fairly far-reaching. It won't be very intense, but there was a broadcast this week that um, that, that a new party in England. I can't remember the fellow's name. Let me just see. Hold on a second. Just give me 1 second, folks. So this isn't reform. It's a gentleman named Rupert Lowe who established a new party, um, and he left Re Reform UK, and he also came out with a Restore um, Britain party. Now, this could hurt Reform UK because Reform UK is in a good position to assume the prime ministership. Um, so, but um, apparently, so it looks like Reform UK is splintering a little bit uh, because Mr. Lowe apparently quit the party after an internal dispute, and so this may actually stop. This may actually save Keir Starmer from a party challenge or a challenge to his prime ministership. Let me see if I can look up Keir Starmer's chart for a second. So these are things that catch my attention. It's not necessarily that they're the most important news, but these are things that kind of hit me. So this is Keir Starmer's chart. He's in Saturn, Jupiter, Venus subparade. By any stretch of the imagination, that's essentially a good major planetary parade, although Jupiter and Venus are not friendly with each other. So I have to underscore that. And there is, after May 7th, there's a Saturn, Jupiter, Sun period, and Jupiter will be afflicted by Rahu, and Sun will be afflicted by Ketu. So the Venus subperiod, if there are elections held before the Venus subperiod is up, like before May 7th, he'll probably do better than expected. If elections were held after May 7th, he'll probably do much worse than expected. So a lot of the timing, and actually I can see, so his son's very strongly placed. His son's in a leadership nakshatra, um, and but his Jupiter is in a nakshatra which is very, it's a nakshatra of a fallen king. So this Jupiter period looks to be very difficult for him. Um, if he can stay in power until 2027, he'll probably stay in power for a while. But I, I'm thinking that this Jupiter sub period um, is not particularly good for him. And here we go to the Jupiter, the Venus sub period. Venus is well placed in the fifth house, in the house of politics. So he can be getting a boost from this between December 6th and May 7th. But the polls are very bad for him right now, especially since January 29th. The Rahu period makes sense. The Jupiter period, he may see an uptick, but I don't know. I just have a funny feeling especially after May 7th, I have a funny feeling he's going down. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there, even with this new party forming. And there was, but like I said, there was apparently an internal conflict between this individual who formed the new party and the Reform Party. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. So let's go back to the natal chart. Oh, and let me look at what's happening in India right now. So go to India and China. We'll get these out of the way first. We'll look at India, China, and Iran. The political party in um, Japan just had an historical win, so I don't think I need to look at that. Um, just a massive parliamentary win. And right now, Saturn's aspecting India's rising sign, so that will slow down or create some damage to India. Um, Jupiter's with Mars right now, so the economy should be good through um, basically through July. And but again, there will be a temptation for military adventures in India, especially after um, I would say April 2nd. So some new enemies or some new conflicts, and also some possible change in party structure, especially around February 1st of 2027. So, or some change in the power base. Let's go to China. And I'm not wishing this on India. That's not the idea of any of these analyses. Um, China is October 1st, 1949. So China is going through, it's in a moon major planetary period. Moon is somewhat well placed in this chart. It is um, in a cancellation of debilitation, but I think after Mars is at, so Mars is strengthening the moon, but between now and February 19th, some panic or some economic shortfalls in China, and after um, April 28th, some upsets in the economy, maybe some military aggression, and especially true after October 4th of 2026. So maybe some theft or uh, some takeovers of uncontested space uh, around October of this year. So China is not in great financial shape. I've said this many times before. The transits are also affecting as Saturn's aspecting the 11th house, and Rahu is aspecting the house of power or the seat of power, and Ketu's in the 10th house. So you will see continuing rebellions against the power structure in China. Now, whether or not they'll be successful is another story, but that's what I'm seeing from this chart. Iran. So let's look at Iran. Iran's also a Scorpio rising, from what I can tell from this chart, and it's currently in a Saturn subperiod. So this will take out the dictatorial stances on Iran's part. Is a Saturn Rahu conjunction in the 10th house. So this will hurt Iran's leadership, um, and especially around May 23rd of 2026. I'm tending to think you'll see the Iranian government either fall or take or suffer an immense humiliation. So not at all a stable time for Iran with Ketu going through the 10th house and Rahu going through the 4th house. Saturn's in the 5th house of politics, so the political response will be pretty negative. So we know there have been murders in Iran, and like tens of thousands of killings in Iran. And I have nothing against the Iranian people. I know a few Iranian people, and they're wonderful people. But the government is really that Saturn Rahu conjunction in the 10th house indicates a really cruel government. So I can't see this standing for much longer, if I'm completely honest. Okay, so let's go to the weekly chart right now and see how it's going to affect everyone. Let's go to the now chart, and we have okay. So we have a Cancer rising. Moon is in the 7th house along with Mars, so that'll make people a little bit aggressive, a little bit antagonistic during the following week. Don't be afraid of that. K2's in the second house. Communications will be stifled or a little bit difficult to understand. Mercury is with Rahu. We're going to be subjected to many more lies. Um, Again, it's not really the kind of what I would call Mars Mercury lies that standard politicians issue. These will be lies intended to incite people or to work them up or to cause chaos. And this will come from both sides of the political spectrum, all sides of the political spectrum, to be honest with you. And this is true in basically every country in the world. So I think keep this in mind, especially if you're looking at media, especially if you're looking at what I would call sensational stories coming out of either right wing or left wing media. They're not there to inform, they're there to upset you and excite you. Um, and so there is some economic, um, not really trouble, but conflicts on the horizon. Sun changes signs within Sun has changed signs. It's gone to Aquarius right now. And actually, I was kind of grateful it left Capricorn because it was in the same sign with Mars. They're still pretty close to each other, but the sign barrier tends to make the combustion of Mars less volatile than it has been. Moon is with Mars, again, sharp tongue. There's a tendency towards thievery with this combination, and also a tendency towards violent behavior, especially among criminals or people seeking to steal things. Saturn is in the ninth house, so we have Mercury, Sun, and Rahu in the eighth house. And again, like I said, that has to do with uh, a vast array of lies coming at us from governments and from non-governmental officials. So this is where the Epstein cover-up will continue to run its course for, I would say, another couple of weeks. But you'll see a lot more information coming out over the next few days. You'll also see more information coming out of state level um, corruption coming out over the next few days. And that's really kind of a widespread pattern. Uh, in terms of government shutdowns, um, the funding for ICE will continue within about 3 weeks. Uh, I'm estimating from this chart. But there will be restrictions on ICE and there will be restrictions on other programs that are run by the federal government. But there will be, I think you'll see a refunding within about 3 weeks. The other thing you have from this chart is Saturn's in the ninth house. So this will mean government will move very slowly. Jupiter's in the 12th. A lot of encouragement um, of investment in things like AI, and also before we see a return to traditional investments around June or July of this year. And let me just see if I'm missing anything. So no, so I think that's just about it. I covered Venus, I covered Saturn, I covered Jupiter, I covered K2 and Rahu, and I covered the Moon and Mars. So that's basically it. We will have what's called a Kala Sarpa Yoga, um, probably within about a month or so, because Mars is slowly moving towards this particular sign. That'll last probably until late July, but that's really not going to come for about, I would say, for about another um, 3 to 4 weeks, I'm estimating. And that's when all the planets are between Rahu and Ketu. So this part of life, things connected with action, things connected with finance, things connected with communications, and to be, and also higher education institutions will be under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of close attack, and that'll continue for a few months. The so that's so Kalasarpa means essentially all the planets are moving in one direction. Now, this is technically what I've heard some astrologers refer to as a Kala Amrita Yoga, because all the planets will be moving towards Ketu, not Rahu. So there will be some restoration of freedom or some good benefits from this particular combination. But that will last for at least until, oh gosh, I'm guesstimating around August. So expect a lot of intensity around legal action, around religious institutions, around philanthropy and NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and also around communication. So those areas of life will tend to be more strongly affected than others. So let's go to your charts, your individual charts. So we'll start with Aries. Aries has no planets in the first house. The Lord of the first is in the 10th. So essentially, so Aries goes from April 15th to May 15th. So this gives the sign a lot of career focus, a lot of potential for financial gains, although it won't feel like it's enough. And also new friendships, but have to be careful of those friendships. And also a lot of expenses connected with both work and friends. Um, Jupiter's in the third house. That's basically um, a sign that this particular rising sign or sun sign will tend to be a little bit too diplomatic, a little bit too easygoing. Kate, who's in the fifth, still some problems with children. And Mars and Moon are in the 10th house, getting back to the 10th house again. A lot of career focus, a lot of ambition from this chart. Mars is almost at its highest exaltation point and will be within a week and a half. So I expect to see a lot of people really focusing on their labor and focusing on work life. From Taurus, Taurus has no proper planets in it. We have Uranus in there, which I usually don't use, and Yamagata and Arada, which are auspicious upagrahas or little planets. So what Yamagata does is it acts a little bit like an expansion of wealth, and Arada gives an expansion of communications. Taurus starts May 15th, goes to June 15th in the Vedic chart, and Jupiter is in the second house. So this, along with Kodanda, which is sort of a Venus upagraha or little planet, and Kulika's in the third house, which essentially makes this chart or this sign very ambitious this month. Cage, who's in the fourth, some difficulties with family life. Um, Moon is in the ninth house, so there will be some increased pressure from bosses to get work done. Venus, Mercury, Sun, and Rahu are in the 10th house, so that's basically good for financial growth. And we have Saturn in the 11th. Again, slow but steady financial growth, not rapid fire. So again, not a bad month for Taurus, but do be careful about problems at home or accidents at home. For Gemini, Gemini has the planet Jupiter, the great benefic, in it, and Jupiter rules the seventh and 10th house of relationships and career. So both of these things will be heavily on your mind this month. So this period lasts between June 15th and July 15th, and or the sign placement is June 15th to July 15th. And there are no planets in the second house, but K2's in the third. So we'll make Gemini very ambitious, very outgoing, and let's Mars is in the eighth house, so there'll be a lot of need for investigation before entering into any kinds of agreements or contracts or real estate deals. Sun, Venus, and Mercury, along with Rahu, are in the ninth house. This is sort of a Raj Yoga for this chart. So essentially, this gives this chart basically good luck throughout most of the week. Saturn's in the 10th house, good for career growth, good for commanding other people or um, making other people obey you. So any Gemini politicians would have a very good month this month. For Cancer it goes from July 15th through August 15th. Um, oh, by the way, Jupiter as Lord of the 7th and 10th gives a lot of career focus, a lot of career ambition. I think I said that, but I just wanted to make sure that I got it in again. For Cancer goes from July 15th to August 15th. Cancer has K2 in the second house, so that can give unexpected gains, prosperity, but also unexpected problems with family members and a little bit of shortness of tongue, maybe a little bit too much candor or honesty. Um, we have Mars and Moon in the seventh house, so this chart will be very focused on relationship life. Venus, Rahu, Mercury, and Sun are in the eighth house, so that gives a lot of investigation connected with investments, communication, and also confidence. Confidence will be a little bit low for the Sun this month. For the ninth house in the chart, we have Saturn in the ninth house, good for some material gain, but also this sign should listen for older people's advice. For Leo starts on August 15th, goes to September 15th. This is basically K2's in Leo. As I've often said before, this is what I would consider to be a Raj Yoga, especially with Sun aspect in K2. We have uh, one of the shadowy Raj Yogas between a node and a lord of a trine or an angle. And so that's the Sun. So the Sun will be positively affected by K2 this month. People's confidence in this sign will go up, and there'll be unexpected benefits and unexpected potentials for growth. Jupiter is in the 11th house, good for financial gains. Saturn is in the 8th house, gives some opposition or some problems with poor people or people who belong to um, newer circles. And that combination of Moon and Mars in the sixth house indicates the sign will tend to do able to overcome enemies through quick action and through um, but also through sympathetic action. And let's see, so this is basically a good month except for relationship life. I wouldn't encourage Cancer to get into a new relationship for at least for a couple of months. Um, and also not particularly good for business partnerships either. So this is not a bad placement for Leo, but again, there are some cautionary notes here. For Virgo, Virgo has no planets in the first house. The Lord of the First is in the sixth, so this particular sign will be working very hard to improve itself, um, trying to overcome enemies, trying to overcome obstacles. We have Moon and Mars in the fifth house, basically good for attaining goals or desires, and especially financial goals for Virgo. Virgo lasts between September 15th and October 15th. And we have Saturn in the seventh house, so it can give some problems with relationship partners or with people who we view as being partners in life and or business partners. So there will be some hesitancy on business partners to take chances, a lot of conservatism. Jupiter's in the 10th house, good for career growth, especially for financial growth. So, and so this is good for career growth through education. Libra. Libra has starts October 15th, goes through November 15th. And again, this is for Libra sun or moon as well. And all the signs are for sun or moon signs as well. Um, Libra has no planets in the first house. The Lord of the first is in the fifth, which is generally lucky for politics, gain. And again, we have kind of a Rajdhani yoga in this chart because the Lord of the 11th house is in the same sign with Rahu. Not a this is not a conventional yoga, but it will give increased possibilities for income. And Moon and Mars are in the fourth house. That's basically good for changeable position on the part of wife or a relationship partner. Uh, we have no planets in the seventh house, but we do have changing partnership patterns showing up with Lord of the seventh house in the same sign with an exalted Mars, or in the same sign with the moon. So you can see some changes in career life for this particular sign. A lot more focus on career life this month. Saturn's in the sixth house. Saturn's really the most important planet for Libra rising, but with persistence and stubbornness, you'll be able to overcome your enemies or your obstacles. Jupiter's in the ninth, very good for financial gain. Ketu's in the 11th, good for unexpected financial gain and new friendships. For Scorpio, Scorpio has no planets in the first house. Uh, Mars, the Lord of Scorpio, is in the third house. And again, this opens between November 15th to December 15th. Sorry, I keep forgetting that. The moon and Mars, the Lord of the first house, is exalted in the third house, along with Moon, the Lord of the ninth house. So this gives this personality kind of a tough demeanor and able to work through things. Um, Venus and Rahu are in the fourth house, increase in status, increase in professional standing. Ketu's in the 10th house, not much work recognition, but basically financial benefits accrue from this particular position. Saturn is in the fifth house. Saturn has aspects the Lord, the 11th house, so that will delay gains, delay financial gains. Jupiter's in the eighth house. There will be unexpected influxes of cash. So, and let's see now, Kate, who is in the 10th house, so this can give unusual or highly promising career aspects to this particular sign. For Sagittarius, almost done with these guys. I'm moving around a lot, as you can see, just because I'm trying to get comfortable. Sagittarius is, Lord is in the seventh house, where it's been for the past few months. And Sag goes between December 15th through January 15th. And we have a Mars Moon combination. So this is a good time for relationships for Sag with one extraordinary warning. So Mars is in the second house along with Moon. You will attract relationship partners who want to use you or take advantage of you. So probably not a good idea to get involved in a relationship for at least another month or so. For Yeah, Mercury, Sun, Venus, and Rahu in the third house can indicate difficult relations with siblings, but also increased financial growth at home. For Saturn being in the fourth house, Saturn in the fourth house as ruler of the second and third indicates family members will become powerful or prominent. Jupiter's in the seventh house, which we said already, so good opportunities for relationship partners, but don't take them for just a little while. And K2's in the ninth house, so there can be some unexpected stretches of luck, at least from this particular sign. Let's go to Capricorn. We have three left to go. Capricorn has Mars in the first house. Capricorn normally starts around January 15th, extends to February 14th. And Capricorn has an exalted Mars, so that gives what's called a Ruchaka Yoga in the chart. And this also will attract people who want to form relationships or business partnerships. Um, the main thing about um, this isn't a bad placement, but you have to be careful about long-term relationships or business partnerships with Mars in the first aspect in the seventh house. Venus, Mercury, and Rahu are in the second house, good for potential financial gains and also for increased uh, overall wealth. Saturn's in the third house, good time to express discipline and just trying to think, discipline and also focus on uh, children a little bit. Jupiter's in the sixth house, not a bad placement. But again, more of an emphasis on diplomacy rather than getting things done. K2's in the eighth, not a bad position, if I'm honest. And that can give unexpected financial gains to this particular sign. Um, so that's pretty much it for Capricorn. Aquarius goes from February 15th to March 15th. This is basically a good placement. Um, and so we have a Raj Yoga with Sun, with Rahu, Mercury, and Venus in the first house, also Sun in the first house. So this is very good for achieving goals, achieving confidence, achieving relationship partners. Although Mars still aspects the seventh house in the chart, it's a little bit less dangerous for this sign than for other signs. So essentially, this gives increased luck, gain, position, authority, and also status to this sign. Saturn sits in the second house, so there will be financial improvement. Jupiter sits in the fifth house, retrograde. Just beware of over optimism. This is a good placement, but beware of over optimism. K2's in the seventh house, unusual business or relationship partners. And finally, that's it for, I'm sorry, Mars and Moon are in the 12th house. So that should give additional expenses on health and property. Pisces, let's go to Pisces now. Pisces is definitely not least among the planetary assembly, but, or the sign assembly, excuse me. Uh, but this does give some problems. So this lasts roughly from March 5th, March 15th to April 14th. This is the seat of philosophy in the chart. So this sign will be forced to make goals or ambitions realistic or attainable or work hard at them. Jupiter's in the fourth house, so there's a lot of communication about goals, but not a lot of work being done. K2 is in the eighth house. This isn't a bad, I'm sorry, K2 is in the sixth house. This isn't a bad placement, but watch out for personal injuries at work. And let's see now. Let me see. And so K2 in the sixth, some problems from illnesses. Jupiter in the fourth, basically good luck in home life. Um, Mars and Moon in the 11th house, good for gains through property or through um, expertise with um, mechanics or military weapons. And finally, Venus, Mercury, and Sun and Rahu in the 12th house. Good for gains, but only if the sign is willing to travel. So let's go to the astro mapping chart. Just a little bit. Oops, 1 second. I need to correct the chart. Okay, so I already gave you some retro analysis of what happened in Europe and what happened in what's happening in China. Haven't really touched on Africa all that intensely. Um, but starting from west to east, we have a Saturn line and a Jupiter line encompassing the Jupiter Island and um, I'm sorry, coming close to Hawaii, and that indicates more construction in Hawaii, more activity in trying to rebuild areas that were damaged. The moon is passing through British Columbia in this chart, and also is coming close to Mars and Sun. So those will of necessity only be trying to think of the right word to use. So we have the moon and Mars encompassing. So we have Jupiter. So we have some increased financial growth in Alaska. Moon is waning, so we're having some decreased economic activity in Western Canada. Mars is heading its exaltation point, so you'll see increased independence and self-sufficiency, and all the way from Nevada to California, all the way up to Utah and into the southerly most states of Canada. Um, Let me just, so for um, take a short break there, sorry, folks. So Mars will give some more construction-related projects and some more land opportunities in, in this part of the country and also in Canada. Sun, there is a marked move towards independence in Alberta, unless the French government can figure out some way to um, do away with that idea. There's also um, a sun line running down North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and I'm sorry, it's Montana, um, Colorado, Utah, and into Arizona. That's where it's landing. My apologies, folks. So you have a sun line. So this should indicate increased governmental control, increased interest in government separation over Alberta, and even in Nebraska, I'm sorry, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, and um, Texas. For the East Coast, I'm seeing Jupiter going through Virginia and also through North Carolina, so there can be some shakeups in government power there. Saturn is also going through, not Jupiter, but Saturn. Saturn is also going through um, to west. So, excuse me, Saturn is also affecting New York, Pennsylvania, to a certain extent, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, and there's a small Jupiter line running through there as well. But basically, if I um, were to go to those states, go to the Midwest or Minnesota, Iowa, down through Louisiana, I would probably see some continued dissatisfaction with government officials being there, some continued dissatisfaction with the government in Mexico, and also some dissatisfaction in terms of wanting to splinter from Canada, expressed as well. The other planet I want to look at over here is Jupiter, which is running straight through, and Saturn is also running through Cuba, which has dropped its imports of oil dramatically since it got cut off. And Saturn is also hitting Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, and touching on Chile just a little bit. But so it's depressing the economies of those countries. Jupiter, on the other hand, is increasing the wherewithal of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and also coming through um, increased financial strength, at least from this particular sign. So this will go um, through most of Brazil, and there's a moon line running through the tip of Brazil, which can indicate some changes in government in that particular part of the country. There's a Mars line running through the middle of the ocean. That won't necessarily affect anything directly. We have Mars lines in other locations, but uh, people uh, in liner ships should be careful and cautious. Sun is also in this part of the world, so again, there is some danger of storms. Um, there's, and as a matter of fact, the sun is going right through the Azores. So that's an interesting combination. So will the Azores have some kind of a governmental shift towards more authoritarian government? I don't know. Iceland, uh, Sun, I'm sorry, Iceland, Venus, and Rahu are going through Mali, the west coast of Africa, Ivory Coast, and down here into Liberia and adjacent lands. So all these patterns will be um, so let's move out to there's I I neglected to talk about the moon line. There will be some changes in government in Brazil and also in near Nova Scotia. Um, there's so we've already spoken about this part of the world, and also a lot of communications coming out of Ireland and Portugal over the next few weeks, and also Western Africa. For Saturn right now, Saturn's passing over Norway, Denmark, Germany, and finally Italy and Switzerland. So this can mean some governmental interference. Is also hitting close to Algeria and Libya, and down through Niger, and down through the state of Gabon. So this is not um, so as we're getting into Europe, so these parts of Africa look like they're trouble areas, dissatisfaction with the government. Same is true in Portugal, same is true in Ireland and Iceland. As we get over to this part of Africa, it looks like there are some conflicts or some fighting going on. Also in Germany and Norway. Jupiter line is running through Turkey, Egypt, Sudan, and the rest of Africa. So essentially, and it also runs down from Finland. So essentially, this does give uh, financial growth to these areas: Finland, Greece, Turkey, and Egypt in particular. There are no lines over Iran except for the very end, and that's a moon line. So that does indicate change in government to me. And the situation between Moon and Jupiter hasn't improved um, since for a while. Jupiter lines will tend to improve the economies of this section of the world uh, pretty soundly. There is a moon line changing governments in Iran. Um, Also, we have a Mars line running through Afghanistan, Pakistan, and this is disputed territory. It has been disputed territory for a long time. So we have a moon line running over Iran, a Mars line running over Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and a sun line running over India and Pakistan and Afghanistan. And I would expect those three governments to be showing more authoritarian rule over the next few weeks. For India, there's also a Venus Mars Rahu line, which again, as I said, is a Raj Yoga Karaka and is connected with computers. So that looks good. And let's move on to the rest of the map. There's we looked at that Venus Rahu Mercury conjunction, so we'll be hearing, I would say, some falsehoods out of China and also Eastern India and so on, or Sri Lanka, as it's now called, sorry. And there's a Saturn line running through China and through a large portion of Southeast Asia, namely Indochina. And finally, last but not least, we have a Jupiter line running through Japan and through Indonesia, Borneo, and Philippines, and we can expect those economies to recover. We have a moon land running through Guyana. Over here, these are Guyana. This is Guyana. And essentially, this does indicate more news coming out about this part of the world, especially Australia and Guyana, and more action, more energy towards living in that part of the world, living that kind of a lifestyle. There's a Mars line running through um, uh, um, there's a Mars line running through. Micronesia, it looks like, and also far eastern Australia and close to Tasmania. So we might see some violent activity or maybe even some earthquakes in that part of the world. The final three lines are Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Rahu, final four lines. So the Rahu is falling pretty much right on New Zealand. So there can be professional scandals, but also increased film and artistic activity in New Zealand at the same time. So that's about it for me for this week. My apologies that I was a little bit more drowsy than normal. And I appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, send me messages, send me suggestions, send me anything you like. That's fine. Just keep it clean and printable on YouTube, and I'll endeavor to answer every single question. These world maps are not as neat and efficient as I once thought they would be, so I might look into other combinations where I can look at the world. But for the time being, they've been reasonably accurate. I think they've actually been quite accurate. So I'm gonna get out of this and close, stop the share, and tell each and every one of you, especially this day after Valentine's Day, how much I love you all, um, from a philosophical sense and also from my heart. So thank you very much for watching. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Don't give up your dreams. If you have any temporary setbacks, remember that. Remember what the Democrats told the Europeans: everything's temporary. Okay? And that's true, but I think some of the changes that Trump put into place will be sticky. But within about 4 or 5 years, you'll see a lot of shifts back to existing patterns of behavior. So don't be surprised if you see something around 2030, which looks a lot like a financial crisis or even a military activity. Um, I tend to like the military activity to come a little bit later based upon the history of the United States. But financial activity, financial problems, definitely by 2030. So but again, these will present opportunities for you. Obstacles are not always a bad thing. Okay? So just hang in there, do the best you can. And I know you're doing that. And again, just to quote for the third time or more, it was probably more, I love you all very, very much. All right. And take care of yourselves too. Thanks. And namaste. I'm trying to do this properly. Namaste. Okay. Have a great week. Don't worry about a thing. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.